Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So in this one, we have some decks for the new Season Pass card dropping tonight, Nimrod. So we're going to start out here with pool number 1. Now, pool 1 and pool 2 really are kind of limited on the destroy effects you have access to. Really, the only two main ones we have are Deathlock and Carnage. So we're going to try and use them to the best of our ability, but Nimrod is definitely more of a card that has a lot more viable options and interesting brews once you get into pool 3 and above. But for this first one, we obviously have our two destroy effects. We have just cheap things that we can feed to our Carnage as well, like Mr. Sinister, Korg, Angel will pop out when something gets blown up, Wolverine, another thing that really enjoys getting destroyed. Then we just have some value cards here like Sentinel to help guarantee we're always going to have something to play. Scarlet Witch for dealing with bad locations. Obviously Nimrod, so we can actually do some cool stuff with him with our destroy effects. And America Chavez to make it so that we draw our cards more consistently. Forge, kind of nice because we can weave that in on turn 4 with another 2-drop, make a 7-power Nimrod, and then blow that up on the final turn to get 2 7-power Nimrods in the other lanes. So yeah, a little bit more limited, but if you're looking for something in pool 1 to do with Nimrod, I think this is one of the better options you have. Next up, moving on into pool number 2 here. Again, don't have any more destroy effects, but we do have a few more tools for the archetype to make it a little bit better, namely Bucky Barnes. A pretty nice payoff for our destroy effects. We can really kind of stack up that destroy lane to blow it up with Nimrod in it. Shang-Chi also gives us a nice form of interaction, and we have some better options in the cheap 1-drop slot. Agent 13 gives us a chance at getting maybe some of those other good destroy cards or just good other cards in general. Iceman is nice disruption. Yondu gives us information and can sometimes mill a key card. Storm is pretty nice because we have a pretty powerful early game. So being able to load up a lane and then lock it down with Storm seems pretty good. Also, nice Nimrod synergy there because we can lock up a Storm lane and then add Nimrod to it later on. Shang-Chi just for the good interaction with big things like Chavez and Dino. And we're keeping Chavez here to hopefully get our early game stuff and Nimrod more consistently. Moving on to pool 3 and above here, we have our kind of ramp focused deck. So we do have more destroy effects now, namely Venom and Armzola. We also have Ramp, so Nimrod is a 5-cost card, but we want to be getting it out earlier if we can. Electro obviously going to be the best way to do this, plus if we're going to blow up our stuff, we get rid of the Electro effect as well, which is restricting us, though we don't really care too much about the Electro restriction for the most part in this deck. Sunspot is our main early game card because as you can see, we don't really have anything else to be doing in the early game but Sunspot into ramp on 3. Deathlock, Venom, and Zola act as our destruction, as well as the Destroyer, who is one of the best cards to combo with Nimrod here. So we have a few different options here. We do actually have the Shuri, Panther, Zola combo as kind of a backup plan or just an alternate way to win the game. But we can also do things like Shuri, Nimrod into Destroyer to get 2 10-power Nimrods, which is pretty dope. We can also go Electro into Nimrod on 4. That lets us play Destroyer on 5, and then we can actually Zola on 6. So destroy the Destroyer with Zola, make 2 copies of it. The copies are each going to blow up the whole board, and we're going to end up with a whole lot of Nimrods. So that's kind of the goal with this one. This is one of the ones I'm most excited to try out. I'm not entirely sure if Venom is going to be good in this deck or not, but I think we really did need another destroy effect, and he just seemed kind of like the best and cheapest option for that. Maybe Carnage would also work fine. We'll have to test it and see, but the thing I like most about this deck is it has a kind of versatile attack plan where we can go in a lot of different directions. Not only do we have the Nimrod combos, we have Black Panther combos, we also have Sunspot She-Hulk stuff. She-Hulk also very good with Shuri as well. So there's just kind of a lot of different angles you can take with this deck, and I think that is definitely one of the reasons I'm excited to try it out. Another interesting take here on the Nimrod deck is kind of going the Deathwave route. So we have a lot of the cards you normally see in Deathwave here, like Bucky, Carnage, Iceman, etc. but we do also have Wolverine in here as some destroy fodder. Seems pretty decent if destroying stuff is what we want to do. Electro and Wave for the ramp, so we can be getting out our Nimrod and other big threats earlier on. Destroyer has that really great synergy with Nimrod, and another big thing for us to copy with the Taskmaster here. And then Death, because we're going to be blowing up a whole lot of stuff, and also gives us another good potential copy target with our Taskmaster after we've blown stuff up with our different destroy effects. I think this one definitely could be pretty solid. Deathwave has been a very decent shell. I think it's a little bit worse than it used to be, but in terms of, you know, if you like the Deathwave kind of gameplay, I think that this version will be a lot of fun for messing around with Nimrod. Another direction you can go in is a Deadpool direction. So make this kind of a Deadpool deck. Deadpool obviously likes being destroyed, and so we just have kind of Nimrod and the Black Panther combo in here as just kind of things that enjoy the synergy that Deadpool decks are already kind of aiming for destroying all their own stuff. So we have Deadpool, obviously Nova and Forge give us ways to buff our Deadpool early on. We have nice ways to destroy it with Carnage, Venom, Deathlock. Zola can also sometimes be useful here if we do make a big Deadpool, or if we do make a big Panther. Spread it out across the board. Also helps us dodge Shang-Chi if we have priority. Hulkbuster, another good way of buffing up the Deadpool, but you will want to make sure Deadpool is alone in that lane. Otherwise, you're not guaranteed to buff him, and then he's a lot less good. Shuri, just a really busted card, and Black Panther goes along nicely with her. This is one of those, you know, Nimrod decks. I feel like there really isn't enough destroy effects to go fully all in on them, and I think they do benefit from the fact that you can have that Black Panther combo as a backup, but not your primary way to win. Shuri also really nice with Nimrod, because we can get Nimrod up to 10 power and then blow it up. That's a whole lot of power. So that's kind of a fun interaction. And then just Taskmaster goes very well with the general game plan here, being able to copy our big Panther, big Nimrod, or big Deadpool. The last two decks we have here are Galactus decks. So there are two different versions of Galactus that I think can be pretty cool for Nimrod. This is a turn 5 Galactus deck. So this is kind of more of the standard Galactus shell, where we're trying to get Galactus out on turn 5 and then play a big powerful thing on turn 6 to kind of close out the game. We have the Yellow Jacket, Adam Morlock ramp package, or draw package. We have all 3 ramp cards, which I know is a little unusual for Galactus decks, but given we also can just go in on the Nimrod stuff with this, felt like it was worth having the extra ways to ramp deck. We have Shuri to buff up our Nimrod, and Null here for even more benefit from blowing up our own Nimrod. Chavez gives us that deck consistency because we really do want to be Galactusing on turn 4 or turn 5 if possible. Destroyer gives us a way to do cool stuff with Nimrod if we don't get Galactus, and isn't really bad if we do get Galactus, as often we can just play Destroyer into death on the final turn, and that's usually pretty hard to beat. So the kind of neat thing about this is it's a Galactus deck, but it's not 100% all in on needing to win with Galactus. There's also the neat interaction with Nimrod, where if you put Nimrod on the left and you end up Galactusing in the right lane, the lanes blow up in order of left to right. So the first Nimrod will explode. It'll summon a Nimrod in the middle and a Nimrod in the Galactus lane. The second lane will explode, and that'll summon another Nimrod in your Galactus lane. So that will give you just a free 10 power in the Galactus lane, and it's not Shang-Chi-able because it's broken down into 5s. You do have to be a little weary of board space because you only have 1 space left, but it seems like a fun way to make use of the card. And last but not least, we have our turn 6 Galactus deck. So typically, Galactus is not a card you want to be playing on turn 6, but because of the Nimrod interaction I just mentioned, it's actually not as bad as it used to be to get it down on turn 6. Sometimes we can do it earlier, obviously, with Wave or Electro, but generally this is a version of Galactus that is built around being able to still win the game if you are Galactusing on the final turn. Obviously, we have that cool Nimrod interaction I mentioned before, but we have Goblins in this one to try and set up our Galactus lane, so the opponent will have a kind of tough time getting enough power that they need to win the game there. Shuri is pretty nice for this one. Doubling up our Hobgoblin or our Nimrod can be very, very powerful. Make the turn 6 Galactus even better if we can go Shuri on 4, Nimrod on 5, and end up with 2 10-power Nimrods in the Galactus lane after he goes off on turn 6. Death still very good here. We don't need Chavez in this deck because we want a chance of getting Galactus on turn 6 if we don't draw him in time. Doc Ock helps just get annoying things out of the opponent's hand, like Shang-Chi or other big stuff we do not want them playing on the final turn. And then we have our Adam Warlock Yellow Jacket draw package and Daredevil just to kind of get a game plan on what the opponent is trying to do so we can kind of play around it accordingly. But those are all our decks for Nimrod here. I will have links down below in the comments where you can import all of these different decks. Let me know what you think about these decks, and if you have any ideas I didn't showcase here that you want to use to try out Nimrod, I'd love to hear it. But that is going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.